This story is partially speculative. Multiple wrestling outlets have reported that Gunther versus Nick Aldis is planned for SummerSlam, but WWE has not officially announced the match on television. The analysis below combines confirmed storyline developments with clearly identified predictions. The arena fell silent for just a split second. Gunther stood in the middle of the ring with that familiar cold stare, completely unfazed after humiliating yet another person who dared stand in his way. Then the camera cut to Nick Aldis. He didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He simply stared back, and in that moment something changed. It wasn't about championships anymore. It wasn't about authority. It became personal. Fans have watched Gunther dominate opponents for years, but this time, the man standing across from him isn't chasing glory. He's chasing respect. If the reports are true and SummerSlam is where these two finally collide, WWE may be setting up one of the most emotionally charged matches of the year. Stay until the end, because the final reveal changes everything. Welcome back to the Ringside Observer, where we break down the biggest WWE stories with the depth they deserve. This rivalry wasn't born from one attack or one heated promo. It grew slowly, week after week, through disrespect. Gunther has carried himself like the measuring stick of WWE. Every conversation, every confrontation, every order from management has been treated as nothing more than an obstacle standing between him and what he believes belongs to him. That confidence is exactly what made him one of the most feared competitors in the company. But confidence has a dangerous habit of turning into arrogance. And that's where Nick Aldis entered the picture. As SmackDown's general manager, Aldis wasn't trying to steal the spotlight. His job was simple: keep order. Yet every time Gunther pushed the boundaries, Aldis pushed back. Not with fists, but with authority. And for a man like Gunther, who believes nobody should be able to tell him what to do, that may have been the greatest insult of all. Think back to every tense exchange they've had. Gunther didn't just question Aldis's decisions. He questioned his worth. He mocked him in front of the entire WWE universe. He treated one of the company's highest-ranking officials as though he was just another obstacle, waiting to be bulldozed. Every insult drew louder reactions from the crowd because fans weren't just watching an authority figure being embarrassed. They were watching someone refuse to be intimidated. That's what makes this story different. Gunther has broken legends. He's dismantled former world champions. He's built a reputation on making elite wrestlers look ordinary. Yet Nick Aldis isn't walking into this fight trying to prove he's the better wrestler. He's trying to prove that respect still means something in WWE, and that changes everything. Because if reports are accurate, and this match is indeed heading to SummerSlam, the biggest question isn't whether Gunther is stronger. Everyone already knows he is. The real question is whether months of humiliation have created the one opponent who has absolutely nothing left to fear. That is where dangerous people are born. Every week, Gunther has tried to make Aldis look weak. Every public confrontation was designed to send the same message: you don't belong in my world. Yet something unexpected happened. Instead of shrinking under the pressure, Aldis became more composed. Every insult that was supposed to break him only seemed to strengthen his resolve. The fans noticed it. The locker room noticed it. Even Gunther, despite pretending otherwise, began paying more attention to the man he once dismissed. That subtle shift is why this rivalry suddenly feels so unpredictable. Before we go further, if you are enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow and keeps these videos coming. Now, back to the story. So here's the question nobody can answer. Has Gunther spent weeks creating the very opponent capable of exposing the first real crack in his armor? Or is Nick Aldis walking straight into the biggest mistake of his WWE career? The biggest mistake fans can make is looking at this as a simple wrestler versus authority figure story. It isn't. It's the story of a man who has spent years believing there are no consequences for his actions, finally coming face to face with someone who refuses to be intimidated. Gunther has built his entire career on control. The moment the bell rings, he dictates the pace. Every chop, every suplex, every crushing lariat isn't just designed to hurt his opponent. It's designed to convince them they've already lost. That's what separates him from almost everyone else on the roster. He doesn't just beat people physically. He breaks them mentally long before the match is over. Think about some of the biggest names he's defeated. By the end, you could see it on their faces. The confidence disappeared. Their movements became slower. Their eyes told the story before the referee ever counted 3. Gunther wants his opponents questioning themselves, because once that happens, the match is already over. That's exactly why his confrontations with Nick Aldis have felt so different. Every insult was supposed to shake him. Every public humiliation was supposed to force him to back down. Every threat was supposed to remind everyone watching who really controlled the situation. Instead, Aldis kept showing up. No panic, no fear, no desperate attempts to prove himself. Just quiet confidence. And sometimes that's the most dangerous kind. Because the loudest man in the room usually expects everyone else to stay silent. When someone doesn't, the entire balance of power begins to shift. That's why the WWE Universe has become so invested in this rivalry. It's not because fans suddenly believe Nick Aldis is physically stronger than Gunther. It's because they've watched weeks of disrespect pile up, and now they want to see whether all of it finally comes back to haunt the ring general. Every great WWE rivalry has a turning point. Austin refusing to bow to McMahon. Cody Rhodes finishing his story. CM Punk refusing to stay silent. Those moments weren't just about winning matches. They were about standing up when everyone expected them to fold. This rivalry feels like it's searching for that same defining moment. And if SummerSlam is truly where these two collide, WWE may be setting the stage for one unforgettable image. Gunther standing across the ring, looking into the eyes of the one man he could never intimidate. Now here's where this story becomes even more interesting. Most fans expected Gunther's next major feud to revolve around another championship opportunity. That would have been the safe choice. Another elite wrestler, another technical masterpiece, another dominant victory. Instead, all signs point toward something much more personal. A fight driven by ego, by respect, by unfinished business. And those are often the rivalries fans remember the longest. Because championships eventually change hands. Personal grudges. They last forever. There's another layer to this that people aren't talking about nearly enough. Nick Aldis isn't just defending his own reputation. He's defending the authority of WWE itself. Think about it. If Gunther can publicly threaten management, ignore decisions, disrespect officials, and suffer absolutely no consequences, what message does that send to the rest of the locker room? Suddenly, every superstar has a reason to question authority. Every backstage confrontation becomes meaningless. Every decision loses credibility. That's why this rivalry has grown beyond two individuals. It's become a battle over who actually runs the show. Gunther believes his dominance gives him that right. Aldis believes respect has to be earned and enforced. Those two philosophies cannot coexist forever. Eventually, someone has to blink. And judging by everything we've seen so far, neither man has any intention of doing that. Which brings us to the biggest twist of all. Everyone assumes Gunther walks into SummerSlam as the favorite. They're probably right, but favorites don't always win, especially when emotions start making decisions instead of logic. Gunther's greatest strength has always been discipline. He stays calm. He stays focused. He punishes mistakes. But personal rivalries have a way of changing people. If Aldis can drag this fight out of Gunther's comfort zone, if he can make him angry, if he can force him to abandon the calculated style that's made him one of WWE's most dominant stars, then for the first time in a very long time, Gunther might be fighting Aldis' match instead of his own. So where does all of this leave us? It leaves us with a rivalry that feels far bigger than a single match. If the reports are accurate and Gunther versus Nick Aldis is officially the direction for SummerSlam, then WWE isn't just booking another showdown. They're telling a story about power, accountability, and what happens when someone finally stands up to a man who's spent years believing he's untouchable. And that's why this match has people talking. Not because it's guaranteed to be a 5-star classic. Not because a championship is on the line. Because it feels personal. Every stare, every confrontation, every insult, every warning. They've all been building toward one moment, the instant the bell rings, and there's nowhere left to run. No security, no authority, no excuses. Just two men settling a score. Now let's look at what could happen next. One SummerSlam. Gunther defeats Nick Aldis after an absolutely brutal battle. But he has to dig deeper than ever before. Aldis earns the respect of both the WWE Universe and the locker room by refusing to stay down, proving he was never just a man in a suit. Even in defeat, his reputation grows, while Gunther leaves knowing this rivalry changed him. 2. SummerSlam. Nick Aldis shocks the wrestling world by defeating Gunther through strategy rather than power. Gunther's arrogance finally catches up with him after underestimating his opponent one too many times. The loss sends Gunther into a darker, more dangerous chapter of his career as he becomes obsessed with reclaiming the respect he believes was stolen from him. 3. SummerSlam, Gunther and Nick Aldis never get a decisive finish because the rivalry explodes into complete chaos. A returning superstar, or another major, WWE name with unfinished business, interrupts the match, creating an even bigger story heading into the fall. It would be controversial, but it would instantly reshape the main event picture and leave fans desperate to see what happens next. One of these three things will happen. The only question is which one. At its core, this story isn't about who throws the hardest chop or who has the better resume. It's about whether respect can finally stop arrogance in its tracks. Gunther has spent months acting like WWE belongs to him. Nick Aldis has spent those same months reminding everyone that no one is bigger than the company. If this match becomes official, SummerSlam won't simply decide a winner. It could redefine both men's futures. So now I want to hear from you. If Gunther and Nick Aldis step into the ring at SummerSlam, who should walk out victorious, and what does that result mean for WWE's future? Drop your prediction in the comments below because this is one debate every wrestling fan is going to have. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the Ringside Observer, and turn on notifications so you never miss the biggest WWE stories as they unfold. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.